Yo, what's up, y'all? It's your boy Big Mike in the building. Welcome in to Swish for Real. Got my host, my cohort, my homie, Boogie Bob in the building. What's up, Boogie? How you living, man?
Swish for real.
Yes, sir.
For real. I'm
For
doing
real.
good. I'm doing good. How are you doing, Mike?
Man, I'm good, man. I just been grinding, getting things worked out with this film, trying to I got another film that I'm working on. It's gonna be a short, probably like a 5 minute short. But I've been really trying to keep my nose down, keep working and trying to get things done. But other than that, man, I've just been really good. What about yourself? How you been?
I've been doing good. I did some yard work yesterday, blowing all those leaves and the stuff the trees drop this time of year that makes your nose clog up. So I wore a
Oh,
mask to make sure I didn't get too much of it. But yeah,
oh,
maybe
that
tomorrow
pollen.
I'll pack them along.
Yeah, that pollen is crazy, man. That's
Yeah.
crazy. And speaking of crazy stuff, were you able to kind of dissect what Nico stated on April the 16th in that secret press conference he had?
Well, my boss had a saying when things would go awry and the other person give an answer that didn't make sense. He would say, I don't know what glue you sniffed this morning, but I sure like some.
Damn.
So, I, managers do this all the time. They they make a hire or selection to a supervisor or management role underneath them, and when they make a bad choice, everybody knows it. And I think sometimes even the upper manager knows it, but instead of letting that person go and bring another person in, they just double down. They're like because they made that selection, they double down.
Right.
Uh, I think there's that was a little bit of whether Nico will ever admit it or not, he's doubling down. But as I texted you, he's delusional. Just
Mm,
and they're just shut up. Just everybody in the Mazor, just shut up. It's like there's nothing you can say that will make it better. Nothing you can say that will make it go away. Nothing they can say that will bring Luka back. Nothing that will repair the damage that's already been done. So just let it go. Let sleeping dogs glow. But I think he was delusional, and I'll say for the honest what I texted you. It doesn't matter what big man you got if you don't have a point guard a true point guard that can get them the ball. And
so what
we've
are your
learned
thoughts on what on Brandon Williams, his performance so far? He's actually
uh,
been kind of decent.
speed kills, and I've said it on here before. I'll take speed before height anytime. Uh, he's kind of small, so he's going to get hurt up a lot. But speed kills. Uh, he's definitely got some game. He's probably more of a true point guard than I don't consider. I mean, Kyrie may be the modern day point guard, but I don't consider him a true point guard. It's like
Mm,
Lob City, Smash Brothers. That's without Luka, that's kind of just gone away. So you've lost a lot of what Gafford and Lively brought you. And Kyrie, when he's going to the hole, he's looking to score. He's not looking to alley oop.
nah.
Uh,
So
but
what about Exum? Like, has he kind of converted himself a little bit more into the point guard position? Because I
he,
see he doesn't play a lot.
he's what I call a straight line dribble. He can't zigzag, accelerate, decelerate. He's a straight line dribbler. If there's open space, he can use his speed and his dribble go, but he's not shifty. He's not shifty with his dribbles. His handles are okay. His salary is about the same as Grimes. I'd have much rather seen him keep Quentin
Grimes
Grimes.
other than Exum.
Grimes was a kind of a small combo guards. He was a little small for a shooting guard, a little, but man, they sure could have used him in the minutes they had. And um, Caleb Martin had a 1 year wonder and got a big contract, with Philly for it. But I see his hustle, you know, but hustle only gets you so far. He may be a good defender, but Patrick Beverly is probably better at scoring dribble. But Exum to me, he's more of a straight line or he's very limited skill set that you can use. It's not somebody who can break down the defense and has got to be double covered or triple covered or that you got to account for.
So speaking of defense, though, that's what Harrison's focus was. He was saying defense win championships, but it's kind of flying in the face of what the Mavs was trying to do when they made the finals last season. You know what I mean? It's just like
But
you're
they
saying that
but
the defense that we
at
had last year wasn't comparable to win the championship, even if we added these more defensive minded players and a little bit more offense.
well they I mean those all valid comments, but from the All Star to the uh, playoffs, they were third in defense after they got Gafford in Washington last
Hmm.
year. Third in defense, and through the playoffs, they were number one in defense. Uh, Boston didn't like go crazy on them. I don't remember the highest score, maybe 110, but they held them right around 100 or less in most of those games. So I don't think defense was a problem. But now you don't have anybody can put it in the hole. Nobody can get you a bucket when you need it. I
Mm.
haven't seen a team win a game 0-0. If you stop a team every possession with defense, but you can't get it in the hole yourself, then you still got to. Nelly used to make a joke of it in the 80s and 90s. First to 100 wins.
No, facts. And
But
with that conversation he had as far as the press conference, he handpicked members of the press, and they couldn't bring in any video or recording devices. Only they can just write what he says. What did that really mean? When you don't want them to record what he says, and no recording devices or no video, and it's a private setting. What does that really say about Nico?
you're hiding something.
Do you?
And I mean, I'm sorry, over the last 3 or 4 weeks, uh, I think Nico's more and more the fall guy. I'm not so sure that, the league ratings definitely went up after Luka went to the Lakers. We'll
Hmm.
talk about Lakers later, but Adam Silver will deny, and the more people point the finger at him, the more he gets uh, defensive. So, anytime somebody gets defensive, it's like either they're protecting their ego or there's some truth to the thought. In fact, he was released today uh, that over the summer they're going to be thinking about expansion. Teams in Seattle and Vegas are the two front runners, so they're going to
Right.
discuss expansion. It's like that theory, but yeah, I mean we've said this before. It's like, and I posted on one of my Facebooks on still a lot of rant and raving, but when they gave him tribute, it brought the vitriol back. And I said a tribute video should have been happening in 2040 after Luka had played here 21 years.
Mm.
And as of today, 87 people love that comment.
Oh, wow.
Eh,
So,
so,
speaking back on what the commissioner said in regards to moving the team, he said that Dallas won't be moving out of the city. In fact, we are looking to get a new arena. So, will they keep Nico, even though the Dallas Mavericks just got a new CEO? Will they continue with Nico? Will they move forward, or what does the team look
uh,
like in regards to the
yeah,
future?
if Sid Marshall was still in the CEO, you would have heard a different tune. Rick Welts did a lot of good for Golden State, some others. He's building it. That was part of the conference. But Nico dropped. It's kind of like when presidents or CEOs of companies, it's not so much what they say, it's what they didn't say.
Hmm.
And you read between the lines. He said, "I have 3 more years on my contract." And in his initial conference, he says, "We're not looking at 10 years. Me and kid may not even be here in 10 years." So that's twice he's pretty much hinted at he don't expect to be here after those 3 years are up.
Mm, that's crazy. And so, speaking of just moving on from the subject of moving this franchise to another place, do you think where the Dallas Mavericks are now, playoff wise, how far you think they'll go in regards to their well, we're going to talk about this now. Can they continue forward, and what are the playoff predictions are in your opinion? Do you think the Mavs will get past Grizzlies tonight, which is if you're watching this at a later date, this is Friday evening. So do you think the Mavs can get past Memphis, and where do you see them landing, and who do you have winning in the playoffs this year?
I it's tough to root or bet against your own team, but I don't think to get by Memphis. We just saw less than a week ago Memphis, even with their second team, with no Desmond Bain, no Jaren Jackson, no Jaw Morant, and the Mavs didn't have their starters either, but so it was backups against backups, and he even posted a nice video. Go look at it. Swish for real. Uh, they beat him, 30 some odd points. Like they weren't even in the game by the second quarter. So, and they Memphis got a new coach, which we'll talk about. Coaches have been fired in a minute, but I don't, I don't expect him to get by Memphis. So that's it.
All right,
We got
so who do you
Wild
have?
Dog in the
Wild
house.
Dog, what's up with you, man? So we're
So
talking about the playoffs right now, Wild Dog, and welcome in, brother. Thank you for joining in. It's kind of a short date for us today because we got to push forward because I got a couple of things to do. But Bob was mentioning, and it's still on Bob, that the Mavs may not, get past Memphis and get that 8 spot. But Bob, who do you have winning? So let's look at the West in general. So you have the Lakers facing off against Minnesota. Do you think that Luka can do what he did last year against Minnesota for the Lakers?
you're going to see a lot of that's what I effing do. And here's who I got in the first round. I got Oklahoma City over Memphis. I got the Clippers over the Nuggets. I got the Lakers over the Wolves. Rudy Gobert going to be on ice skates again. I got the Rockets over the Warriors. Then the next round, I have Oklahoma City over the Rockets. I got the Lakers over the Clippers. And then I got the Lakers beating Oklahoma City and going to the finals.
What?
Yeah, hold on to your seats. In the East, I got the Cavs over the Heat. I think the Heat will win their game and get the 8 seeds. I got the Cavs over the Heat. No Jimmy Butler, no playoff Jimmy Butler. I got the Celtics over the
But
Magic.
so you're saying the Heat's gonna beat the Bulls to get into that play-in?
Yeah, I think they
Okay.
will.
Yeah.
I got the Celtics over the Magic. Magic pretty young, but that's I got this one's a toss up, but I'm going with the favorite. I got the Knicks over the Pacers.
Mm,
And then in an upset between the 4 and 5 seed, I got the Bucks over the Pacers.
mm.
And then in the semis, I got the Cavs over the Bucks. And then I got the Celtics over the Knicks. And then for the Eastern Conference Finals, I got the Celtics over the Cavs. So NBA heaven, it'd be Lakers versus Celtics in the finals, which the commissioner probably should send a check to Nico Harrison that we were just talking about. If
And
that
they're talking
happens,
about building a statue out there in LA for Nico.
yeah, and Rob Pelinka just signed an extension with a promotion. I wouldn't be surprised if he hires Nico as his GM. But I got the Lakers and Celtics.
Oh wow.
Nothing speaks NBA rivalry coming back more than Lakers and Celtics. You know, here's a question I'd have for you, and that's somewhat of a wild prediction. But Mike, if the Lakers and Celtics meet and the Lakers win, and LeBron gets MVP. Does LeBron retire?
I'd say not because I want, I mean, not me, I want, but I believe he wants to play one more year with Bronny to make sure Bronny is acclimated in his second season and ready to go. Because Bronny actually been playing a lot better. But I assume he'll play one more year and then call it a career.
Yeah. Because in
I,
my
I
opinion,
actually think he might play 3 more years.
I hope not.
I think Luka bought him at least 2 years, if not 3 years. But I mean, it's an interesting thought to think if LeBron wins it all again and get that would be his what, fourth ring,
Yeah,
fifth
I
ring.
mean,
No, that'd be his fifth ring because he got two with Miami, one with Cleveland, and one with the Lakers. So if he got a fifth with the Lakers, you tie in Kobe, you're in rare air. I mean, you end your career, NBA fifth ring, MVP of the finals. I'm like, he may want to play, but that that's going out on the mountaintop.
yeah, and to go back to the Dallas Memphis game, I got Dallas beating Memphis all day. I think the Memphis they are right, but John Morant is a little injured, but we are looking like we're ready to play, and I think Dallas is going to get that 8 spot.
We
Any
can only
disagreement?
we can only pray. We can only pray.
All right, Wild Dog, what are your predictions on this 2025 NBA playoff?
for the most part, I agree with Boogie Bob. But again, I think my only outliers, if I was listening correctly, is with the Mavs and the Grizzlies, because Ja is very explosive and athletic. So even at 80%, he's still more athletic than everybody. But to carry through a whole full playoff game and it's a one and done, I really think Kid and company can get it done.
Mm-hmm.
You know? But then without the nemesis for Shea and the Thunder has been Luka. So without Luka, I mean, yeah, I don't see any AC doing
We'll
that
see what
Thunder.
to add to that one. PJ Washington has been the thorn in Oklahoma's back. I mean, he's been really shutting down their players, playing hard on Shea. That's what's really been the defensive tone has been through PJ Washington.
Right. But then it's still a bit of an unknown there. Now, PJ along with Lively and Gafford and really benefited from the finals run.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a question mark. It's playoffs. What version of them is going to show up for the playoffs? Now, we expect a better version of them, but enough, regular season versus playoffs, it's a different animal. So I would like to say PJ is really going to show up, but it's really kind of wait and see who shows up, which version of them shows up for the playoffs.
Right. So if you consider what Clay did the last game, he played very well against Sacramento. And he started off cold, but he ended up hot. You know what I mean? And then you got AD coming back. Only thing I want to hopefully they don't do it to AD is when the Lakers played against Dallas. What did they do? They doubled AD, and AD had no outlet because at the time Brandon Williams was not actually on the team because he had already extended his contract as far as being a two-way player. And since they signed him, now he can play more time. So now he has an outlet. And plus, again, Clay is playing a little bit better. Do you think that will be a difference in regards to that Memphis game?
Yeah, and again, it's like it's playoff time. And like Boogie Bob and I were saying from the get-go, Clay is not here for the regular season. It's like we brought him on for his playoff experience. So Clay is in playoff gear. So again, Clay feels like he's shaking, a gorilla off his back, feeling more like himself. But it's like, no, this is playoff Clay. Clay is is mentally and physically preparing himself for the playoffs, because the playoffs are upon us. So again, it's a different outlier. I understand the Mavs have had the Thunder's number, but that's regular season, and you're looking at a 7-game playoff series. So you have to take 4 out of the 7. And you got to start off with the majority of those out of that 7 in Memphis. So the only real key is whether is how much of Ja is going to show up. Ja.
So all right, I was going to ask you in regards to the West, and we can run through it real quick. The 4 and 5, Denver versus the Clippers. Who you got winning out of those two?
I'm just going to go with my feel. It's a different subject, but it's a dysfunction. I don't care what level.
Side? Where's the dysfunction at?
I don't. Am I mistaken? But didn't the Nuggets fire their head coach?
Yeah.
So absolutely. if you making a coaching change in the middle of the season
and in the playoff at this rate,
and it's not health, it's not a death or health related situation, that's a bad sign. So nothing against the joke or the players or whatever, but that's not a good sign versus a team who's solidified their coaching staff. Let's look at the opposite of it, right? So the Clippers brought on Van Gundy, right, to help solidify their defense and coaching staff to make a turn for the next level. So the Clippers are looking more solidified and prepared to make a run, where the Nuggets are having some real significant issues.
Gotcha. So you got the Clippers winning this particular series, correct?
So they got the same record. I would have to, at this point, say Clippers.
Okay.
Because even for me, you let your head coach go, someone who's respected throughout the league. That's not even a good look for basketball. That you can somehow do something without someone like that. You got a lot of work to do, and it's going to take an off season and going into the next season to fix something like that.
All right, so we all hate this. In fact, Luka being with the Lakers, so now they're facing up against Minnesota. Same thing Luka did last year. Can the Lakers get past Minnesota in this playoff run?
Luka's got their number, so I don't think anything's changed there, And then with the trade, have they had enough time to gel? Is Luka making a turn with the team? I think it's evident that Luka's there's been enough time for the Lakers with Luka to gel and make the turn. And then we know Luka is someone who turns it on for the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
It's inherent. His numbers increase. His vibe is everything. He turns up for the playoffs. So playoff Luka, we're gonna expect to see playoff Luka. And Luka's had, we just saw it. He's had the Timberwolves, number. Of course, they made some adjustments to get better and do things differently. But in the lay of the land, how much improvement have they really made? They kind of, and kind of adjusting in this year. I felt they've lost a step. Overall, they may actually gain, but from the changes and going from one year to the next, they've actually had to take a step back to do that, two-step jump, two-step dunk, right? No one-legged dunk is going to get it done. So they had to take a step back to make that two-legged dunk. So I think that's where they're at, because they really should be a higher seed. But we understand how it is when you make key changes. Sometimes you have to take a step back, to get more power to move forward better.
Right. So in what Boogie Bob stated earlier, Luka's going to be like, you can't effing guard me.
Yeah, so sometimes those matchups are just Luka's just, yeah. So
let me ask you this question. Going moving on to the next series, the Rockets versus the Golden State Warriors. The Rockets been playing crazy good. Yes. Do you think they can defeat the Warriors, or do you think the Warriors could get past the Rockets regarding how well they've been playing lately?
again, you have guys who are season proven playoff performers. You know, you have the strong veteran leadership, and then of course coming to the playoffs, regular season, and Jimmy Buckets. What does he do in the playoffs? He somehow, Jimmy Buckets just finds a whole nother playoff Jimmy. He finds a whole nother gear and whole nother place, and he's got something, a chip on his shoulder, and so. Yeah, the Rockets are looking good, but I don't know if they're ready for a real playoff run or not.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But so in my estimation, between the season leadership on the Warriors with Draymond and Curry, combined with Jimmy Bucket's long history and record and a chip on the shoulder, that's going to be something else. If they healthy. Man, I've learned I'd rather go wrong. I learned not to bet against the Warriors. And then I love Jimmy Buckets. I learned not to bet against him. So that's a double bet on that's a double thumbs up for the Warriors. And if I have to eat my words, I'll eat them. But I learned not to go against the Warriors, with a healthy Curry. And I've learned not to go against the healthy Jimmy Buckets.
So lastly, the Oklahoma Thunder, and we hope that they'll play against the Mavs. Can the Mavs upset the number 1 seed, or will it be just a good series and they take it to like 5 or 6 games and the Thunder end up winning?
Yeah, honestly, I'm hoping for a good series. I'm hoping for the Mavericks, even without Kyrie, to have a good showing. Because so like in the regular season, they had their number, but again, it's the playoffs, and Shea and company have a bad taste in their mouth the way things went last year. So the young cats with something to prove with a sour taste in their mouth, and it's playoff time. Yeah, it's proven time after time. Regular season has little to nothing to do with the playoffs. So I'm really hoping for a good showing, a good series, some good basketball. Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Moving on to the East, and we're going to pick it up at a Pacers versus Bucks game. Who you have winning out of these two? Keep in mind Damian Lillard just coming back from that issue he had with his blood clot. Do you think he'll be rested enough? And I'm pretty sure he will, depending on how much blood thinner he was taking to get rid of that blood clot. Can they, as far as the Bucks go, get past the Pacers?
Unfortunately, I know too much about blood clots and some of my favorite people having to deal with blood clots. It's like you're on bed rest. So my concern is the rust. The rest is not an issue because you're pretty much on bed rest. So the issue is rust. Okay. And then, but also, even with that being said, the Bucks are rolling. They don't want 8 straight. So that's the thing. After the All-Star weekend, you want to be rolling, you want to be healthy, and the Bucks are rolling. So I like the Pacers. I like Rick Carlisle, I like Halliburton, but a team like this, they're looking playoff ready without Damian Lillard.
So you got the Bucks over the Pacers. Cool beans. What about the and we're going to move over to the 3 and 7 seed. The New York Knicks is going to face off against the upstart Detroit Pistons, which has been looking really good. Who do you got winning out of that series?
Man, I got to go with the Knicks. I got to support Brunson. I got to go with the Knicks and what they're doing over there. And they put themselves in really good position. And the Pistons, it's not quite going to be enough. I'm hoping for a good series, but it's just not going to be enough.
So you got the Pistons over the Knicks?
I got the Knicks over the Pistons.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Knicks over the Pistons.
Gotcha. So the number 2 seed versus the number 7 seed, the Orlando Magic. Who do you have winning this, Boston versus Orlando?
Magic not ready, and the organization still, we talked about dysfunctional organizations. They came up, so no. Congratulations for making the playoffs. That's it.
All right. So the play-in they have in the East is Miami and Atlanta playing tonight, and after that, Dallas play after them. If who you have winning out of that play-in, and they'll have to face against the number one seed, Cleveland. Now, choose your one who you would have winning out of the play-in, and if they face off against Cleveland, do you think they can beat Cleveland?
See, the thing is, this play-in, the way it's structured right now, it's a one and done, right? So,
So you think Miami will beat Atlanta for the 8th spot?
Bam is on fire, and Tyler Hero is like doing things that we already knew he was capable of, So, if them cats show up, the Hawks are going to have their hands full.
All right, so they're going to face off the Hawks versus, not the Hawks, but Miami versus Cleveland. Who wins out of that series?
Oh, Cavs all the way. Cavs are ready. Cavs are ready. You got a 64-win team. The Cavs are ready. They've been ready. And then if not for injuries and stuff last year, again, they kind of got, not a chip on their shoulder, but it's like, hey, we should have been here, done here. We got. It's almost like an energy where you have to make up for your losses, right? Because of injuries, they didn't do, what they felt they should have done last year. So it's extra energy, anxiety about, making a strong run this year. So they've played like it all year, and then they're coming into this playoffs, like we have to make up for lost time. We got not necessarily something to prove, but we need to demonstrate and show what we're capable of.
All right. So my last question for you: who are the two teams that will be in the NBA Finals this year, and who do you have winning it all?
Woo! I can't. The way everything has gone down, and the way they've, for the most part, stayed healthy. I have to go with the defending champs. So I have to go with the Celtics coming out of the East. And then the West is really tricky because when you get to Western Conference Finals, if we're sitting here looking at, the West is really funny. That's where I got some issues there because I expect the Thunder to do much better than they did last year, but do I think they're actually ready to be able to close it out? Woo! Because if they have to go the way the brackets run, they have to go up against Luka and the Lakers. Luka has their number. If they have to have a matchup, if Shea has to have a matchup with Luka, Luka still kind of has their number. Has his number, has the Thunder's number. That would be one heck of a series to just call it because of the regular season. And then you talking about, plus with the Kings experience. So it would be nice. I would say for the league for basketball, Lakers versus Celtics would be wonderful. That would be explosive.
That's the same thing Boogie Bob said, and I kind of see the league trying to push that into fruition. But I as a Mavs fan, I'd rather see the Mavs get there as best they can, but it's going to be hard. All right, so we're going to move on to the next subject.
So if I had to error so I had to eat my words and error in the wrong way, I would rather error in saying Lakers versus Celtics.
Right.
Then giving more benefit of the doubt to the Thunder, who I would expect to do much better this year, but are they really ready?
Gotcha. Look about speaking of Lakers, this one Laker has the number one selling jersey in the freaking league. And I got the top 15 jersey sales total, but Luka Doncic jersey is number one in sales. What caused that to jump to that number one ranking as far as jersey sales?
I call it the Laker effect, purple and gold. He was already, since he's been in the league, all-star voting, he's been in the top 3, close to the top 1.
Mm-hmm.
The only international player with more votes than him is Giannis. So he's beloved league wide, worldwide. And purple and gold mystique. I mean, you put those two combinations together, international icon, superstar, purple and gold, boom.
Mm-hmm.
Wild Dog told me in private months ago. He goes, "Yeah, the Mavs losing merchandise sales is just a part of it." He goes, "The Lakers merchandise about to blow out the water off the chain." So he said that months ago. Uh, so here's an interesting fact. LeBron or Stephen Curry have been number 1 for over a decade.
Yeah.
I think it was like 15, 16 years. The last one, other than them two, to lead in jersey sales was Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah.
That,
Think
that's how
how
long.
yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
long ago it
Yeah.
was. So there's been a lot of international players come through. Dirk, Peja Stojakovic, Dallas Kings, Drazen Petrovic way back in the day, Giannis. But I'll let let Wild Dog speak to this because it's kind of his bailiwick about the international stuff.
So I'm gonna say here is what the top 15 jersey sales are. You got Luka Doncic, Stephon Curry, LeBron James at number 3, Jason Tatum number 4, Jalen Brunson number 5. Salute my guy. Victor Wembanyama number 6, Anthony Davis 7, John Morant 8, Shea Gillis Alexander SGA is number 9, Joker number 10, Giannis number 11, LaMelo Ball, salute to my ball guy, number 12, Kevin Durant dropped to 13, and right behind him is his backmate Devin Booker, number 14, and then we'll top it off at the number 15 spot, Jaylen Brown. So you got 2 Lakers, 2 Phoenix Suns, and 2 Celtics on the list. That's basically and then two Phoenix Suns, 2 Celtics, and 2 Lakers on the list. That tops it all off for top 15. Boogie Bob, do you think what was the drop as far as Stephen Curry goes? Is it like people are now moving toward the international level when it comes to jersey sales, or just Luka just a better, more polarizing individual when it comes to jersey sales?
You and I coached, and during practice, there were so many kids that had Stephen Curry jerseys.
Yeah.
I mean, they idolized him. And before that, LeBron, before that, Michael Jordan, even D Wade had a lot of jersey sales. So, to be number 1, you have to have 2 things: an iconic player and an iconic team.
Mm.
And that's why I think Luka made jersey sales number 1.
Mm.
And how
Well
many
done.
Mavs fans? I mean, the Mavs fans, I don't know about you, but I like, even before the Mavs came to be in 1980, as a former Sixer fan,
Mm.
you hated the Celtics and you hated the Lakers. And when they met, you rooted for the referee because you hated both teams.
Dang.
And I loved Magic Johnson, especially when he won the NCAA championship at Michigan State. But I didn't buy no Magic jersey.
Dang.
And I mean, the only player outside the Mavericks I would have even considered buying might have been Michael Jordan.
Mm.
And I really appreciated the talents of Kobe Bryant and what he did for the Lakers, and especially what he did for women's basketball, girls basketball. God rest his soul. But I wouldn't have bought a Kobe jersey either. I disliked the Lakers. If it wasn't a purple and gold, I would be buying me a Luka jersey. But I just can't bring myself to buy a Luka Laker jersey. I just can't. It's just
I
My blood bleeds blue, Maverick blue. That purple and gold. No, sorry, Laker fans, but
Sorry, Lakers fan. You know, we a Mavs centric here. Boogie Bob, thanks, man. Wild Dog, your thoughts on the reasoning why Luka Doncic jersey is #1 in sales across the world?
Well, look, Luka's been one of the favorites in MVP voting, and then even in jersey sales, he's been up there. But remember, it was Celtics and Mavericks in the finals. So the fact that Brown, Tatum, and Doncic have moved up on the sales for the jerseys is not surprising. It's to be expected because those were the two teams, in the finals. And then, as far as I'm concerned, even my own son, receiving his first Luka jersey for Christmas, coming off a finals appearance. So, and then even my spiritual nephew, it's like we went to the game. It's like he's wearing his Luka jersey. He's like, man, I just got this jersey for Christmas, And so, on one hand, it's to be expected, especially for Luka to move up, And then, like Boogie Bob said, you have iconic players, Steph Curry, the King James, on iconic teams, the Warriors with this long, rich history and the new dynasty. You're looking at, the Warriors' current dynasty still ongoing and the Lakers' rich history. That's why they've been the #1 and #2, two iconic players on two iconic teams. Now, when you look at Luka joining the Lakers, right, that's going to be a huge boost. But the smart thing about the Lakers organization is not just a new iconic player, future Hall of Famer coming to your team, which is going to boost sales, is that the Lakers were smart enough, right, to do Luka and pushing through all their different schemes. The traditional Lakers colors, the Showtime Lakers, right? And then one of our members of our group with Boogie Bob, she actually got a Luka Lakers jersey that's in Maverick color scheme. So it's not just iconic player and iconic team. You have to have smart merchandising, which means, if nothing else, color schemes in your design, and then having, like you've seen a lot of times with the Mavericks, right? Mavericks are always coming out with a different font or scheme. Even, on the court, we've had fan input, and team organization input, but also fan input on, schemes and design input for the court, and also for, jerseys and apparel. So it comes to the whole different level with merchandising, with your designs, and then different color schemes on your designs that play into the sales. So Luka, between coming off to the finals and then the Lakers, not just knowing, okay, there's going to be a boost to sit on the laurels, they were smart about their merchandising with the designs and color schemes right off the bat. They came right hot off the presses, to take advantage of it. Yes, sir.
So let me ask you this question. On that list of 15 top selling jerseys, I'll name them off again real quick. And I want you to tell me which one surprises you the most that they even in the top.
Yeah, I already had an answer for you. I wrote it down. Ball.
LaMelo Ball? Why?
Now,
who surprised me? It was Jalen Brunson. I wouldn't think he'd be top 50. He's number 5.
He's in the top. He's in the top market. So,
and an iconic franchise in the Knicks.
Yeah, the iconic franchise, and you in the
I mean, think about how many jerseys Lynn Sanity sold for New York Knicks, and he was only a year and a half wonder with the Knicks.
Yeah, New York is what dropped to what number 3 most populous city, and that's not saying anything. They still one of the most populous cities, in the country, populated cities in the country. And then what are you going to do? Go over to the Nets of Brooklyn? That's cool and all, but even what are they doing? You know what I'm saying? So if you're going to get an extra jersey, if you're going to rock something, it's going to be a Brunson. Even if you're a Nets fan, you're going to have your Nets whatever jersey or Nets whatever gear, but you're also going to rock, because, huge basketball New York is the mecca for basketball, you're definitely going to be rocking at Brunson as
Yeah.
well. You know,
I was surprised that he was number 5, and I was surprised that Jaylen Brown is number 15. I would think he would be a little bit higher than that because he's such a figure for the Celtics in so many ways. But Jason Tatum at number 4 kind of surprised me that he's number 4, even though he's a great player. I don't know if he should be on that list as far as that high. I would probably swap him with probably Bronson. I would probably put Bronson 15 and put Jaylen Brown number 5. But I mean, this is all based off of sales, so it's hard to determine why people buy certain things. But
right. But Big Mike, let me put it to you like this, right? It's like if you a Celtics fan, you gonna catch up on your Jaylen Brown gear. You're gonna get a Jaylen Brown jersey, right? So that's gonna be a push for him coming out the finals, winning finals MVP, right?
Yeah.
But as far as globally, right? Like even my son, he's a Mavs fan for life, but he loves, Jason Tatum. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's one of his favorite players. So then you have a catch-22 there. So Jason Tatum, because of his global appeal, right, his his look, his brand, and then his offensive, prowess, he's going to be very popular. So I expect Tatum, from what I hear and see from young folks, to be around in the top 5 in that conversation every year,
Right.
And and then again, being an overall basketball fan, if I had money, you know what I'm saying? Like back in the day, single, no children, you know what I'm saying? I had a Patrick Ewing jersey. Now, was I a Knicks fan necessarily? No. You know what I'm saying? I grew up Sixers, you know what I'm saying? And then Mavericks. So, but I had a New York Knicks jersey, and it was Patrick Ewing. You see what I'm saying? So there's a part of that globally where you have basketball fans and people filling out their wardrobe with certain things. They're gonna, even if you're gonna carry certain teams like the Knicks, or you're gonna carry certain players, and that's gonna have an effect on the overall sales.
Gotcha. And you know what's crazy though is like a lot of these overall sales as far as jerseys all reflect back to how good the coach is. And lately there's been a lot of dismissals of coaches. Boogie Bob, man, it's been crazy this whole season how many surprises that's been really thrown upon us fans regarding the Mavs getting rid of Luka for AD. And now you have Michael Malone from the Denver Nuggets being fired. Prior to him, there's a couple of other coaches. What are your thoughts on all these coaches being let go? And surprisingly enough, again, the Denver Nuggets. Give me your thoughts on these coaches' firings, man.
Well, I posted on my YouTube at Buggy Bob a couple days ago. 4 out of the last 6 coaches to win an NBA championship now coach for a different team. It used to be if you won a championship, you were good for 10 years. You didn't get fired.
Yeah.
But 4 out of the last 6 that won a chip got fired. So, I mean, it's what have you done for me lately type of league now.
Mm-hmm.
And that isn't just a season. It's just like, what have you done for me this month? So you mentioned Malone, Chip, Budenholzer, Suns, Chip, Jenkins, Memphis, in the playoffs, 50-win seasons, best coaching record for Memphis, fired. Griffin, Pelicans, fired. The Nuggets not only fired Malone, they didn't extend Calvin Booth. And Calvin Booth put that championship team together. I had said he was one of the best GMs, but they couldn't re-sign Contavious Caldwell-Pope. They couldn't sign Brown, who helped them win a championship. So once you hit the mountaintop, everybody's after you, and everybody that's on those teams wants to get paid. You can't pay everybody.
So to your point though, and we're going back to the playoff run. Like Wild Dog said, that's a dysfunction as far as can they persevere regarding the changing of coaches as far as Denver Nuggets go, Bob.
Well, Malone won more games, won a chip, but he won more regular season games and more playoff games than any other Denver coach. And I remember when Dan Easel was the coach. Him and Jerry Sloan were like fixtures in the league.
Yes.
So there's not been a lot of turnover in the Nuggets organization. But analytics and youth, you see it in baseball all the time, and I think that's what you're seeing with the GMs. The Kings even let off McNair. So let me give you something about McNair. Sacramento Kings had missed the playoffs for 16 years. 16 years. And he got the pieces to bring the Kings to the playoffs. Now it was a play-in, but he got them to the playoffs. And they let him go. And the assistant left to go to Utah. We're not talking Utah Jazz. We're talking about the University of Utah. So something's up when the assistant GM leaves, and then they let go the guy. 16 years. Can you imagine? I mean, Mavs went through a decade. We didn't make the playoffs, and we got dirt. Almost a decade. That's almost as bad as 29 and counting. Cowboys not making the NFC Championship game. Gut punch to Jerry Jones there, but a GM that can never get fired. And then the Pelicans just named Dumars their new GM. So I'll end with what I started. Is what have you done for me lately?
Yeah, what have they done as far as the Pelican goes? They got a long way to go in regards to getting back to a playoff contending team. That's going to be a tough feat. And with Joe Dumars, what does he really bring to the Pelicans? Can he get them back to where they should be as far as in regards to playoffs? What are your thoughts, Bob?
I put it this way: if you hired me as GM of the Pelicans, the first thing I would do is take pennies on the dollar for Zion Williams. And I told my friend, he said, I take Zion Williams #1 pick. I said, he's not worth it. He said, have you seen him in 1 year? I said, he's not worth it. I said, a guy that heavy, that big, at that height, said he is going to flame out. He's not going to be, of course, I said that before they drafted him, and they drafted him and traded AD, or vice versa, but it was a year they traded AD and got the first pick. I knew from the get-go and had said it to my friend, Zion's going to be a bust. And then they signed him for a supermax when he hadn't even played a full season or even half of a season. We did a tribute, gave flowers to Oliver Miller. And Zion, similar regards, but I don't remember the Big O having that many injuries like Zion has. So if I was to be the GM for the Pelicans, the first thing I would do would get rid of Zion, and I'd take chump change. You want to send me a multiple second round picks? Bring it here. Just take the salary. Just take the salary. I might even give a first round pick. Just get him off my team. They should have kept BI.
Yeah.
CJ McCullough, you could probably get at least one first round, maybe 2 first round picks for him. They're not going anywhere with what they got. Blow it up. I mean, Atlanta at least saw that the DeJounte Murray trade didn't work out. They kind of, recovered a little bit of that capital. And Dyson Daniels has made a turn in his this year. So I mean, you're not winning with Zion and CJ McCullough now. So sell the farm,
Wild dog, wild dog, wild dog, man. What surprised you so far as these coaches being let go? And give us your thoughts on these 2025 coaches firings, man.
Yeah, I was ahead of myself earlier, but with the Nuggets and Malone, it's not again. even if you, because I was trying to look back at like Boogie Bob did with, coaches who had won the chip, and then where are they now, right? But even if you look at extended and try to look at coaches who were even in the finals, right, and where are they now? It's really awful attrition, in my opinion. But it's not necessarily that a team has to make a different move for the future or they can anticipate what's going to happen. It's the timing of it. And again, like I said, I don't care what level you're at. If you have to do these things right in the middle of a season, that's a horrible sign of dysfunction. It really is. It honestly is. So, and you could say things like, well, with the Suns, it doesn't matter, right? Because they're out, and you think, well, let's go ahead and get the off season started now. But again, you're thinking about a fan base and the players who still have to finish the season. So it's really not, it's really just evident of your dysfunction. And you're really just clearly letting everybody know to what degree of your dysfunction. And that's just something I've learned over and over again. It's not a matter that the changes had to be made. It's just the timing of it is just, it's absolutely horrendous. And also, I didn't mention it. I was trying to stay away from it earlier when it comes to the Grizzlies, but they also, where's Jenkins? And then he was the winningest coach in the Grizzlies history, and now you're trying to, go against the Mavericks in the play-in. And so it's like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? And then again, if you love the game, it'll love you back. If you're in dysfunction, you'll generate dysfunction. You let your winningest coach go, and all of a sudden, John Morant has an injury going into the playoffs. Again, if you love the game, it'll love you back. If you operate in dysfunction, then dysfunctional things are going to happen to you. So I would say, with Malone and then with this Jenkins things, that's just horrible. That's just absolutely horrible. In my best Charles Barkley voice, that's horrible. That's just horrible, because you're looking at one of your best coaches in your franchise history, and then you just operate in dysfunction for no good reason. You do this in the offseason, right? Let the season finish out. Let things play out. Let things, operate. You say, well, you never know. It could have been the best move. It could have been this night. This is not junior high. This ain't high school. You know what I'm saying? And you don't do this at college on the way up. It's something you don't do, Big Mike. I don't care. You don't do.
Let me ask you this question, though. In regards to Phoenix, though, do you think the firing of Budenhauser, how do you pronounce his name? Budenhauser, will that affect them keeping Kevin Durant, or will that just make Kevin Durant move on to another team?
Again, it's kind of like with the Pelicans. It's like, what are you doing? You're not doing nothing to start the offseason now, kind of deal. And so, unless Durant's the reason, then why are you doing it? Unless Durant or Booker's the reason why, things aren't working with the coach. Okay, then where do you side? With your talent or with your leadership? With your coaching leadership. So, again, there you got someone who's a proven leader, a proven coach, and then sometimes players come and go. You tried to hire in mercenaries with Beal and Durant, and it just hasn't worked. You want to blame the coach, or you want to put it on, the players. What has Beal really done, and what has Durant done, outside of the Warriors organization? You take a gamble, you take a bet, Again, megastar players are hard to find. Generational players are hard to get, and generational coaches are hard to get and keep.
Right. So and out of that list of the ones that are no longer with their teams, in regards to Phoenix, Memphis, and even Sacramento, which one of those you would consider a generational coach?
Ooh. I mean, I like Mike Malone. I ain't gonna lie to you. So, I mean, just
what are your thoughts on Mike Brown, though? You know, because he got dismissed from Sacramento.
To me, in my opinion, Brown is like almost right. I would, if I like Boogie Bob said, if I'm a GM, this is what I'm going to do. If I'm a GM, I'm a lock down Mike Brown as my assistant.
Dang.
Just like when you did over the Clippers, right? You know.
But did you see what he did for Sacramento?
You can
Sacramento was balling.
You can say Gundy is done, he's old, it's that, but Clippers made a smart move getting Gundy on their staff. You understand what I'm saying to you? So, you know, and it's nothing against Tyronn Lue, who I feel is a good solid coach and leadership, but all the better that he has Gundy, you know what I'm saying, on his staff. So something is worth that. So sometimes you got coaches again who are better at development, right? And you have coaches who are better at getting you over the hump to, who can get you over the finish line and get you chips. There's difference. So sometimes you need coaches at different phases. And sometimes I wish coaches is like, it's hard with egos. Sometimes I wish you wouldn't fire the coach. If the coach could somehow manage to take a step down, it's like, I'm a head coach, I'll go head coach somewhere else. Sometimes, no, you just need to step down from being the head coach to being an assistant or a staffer and join forces with someone who has that extra to get you over the hump. Instead of all this musical chairs, sometimes, like players team up, coaches need to team up.
Gotcha. And speaking of teams, one of the teams we're going to speak about last is our last subject of the day, the Miami Heat. And here in Dallas, yeah, we're not fans of the Miami Heat. We're going all the way back to 2007. So in 2006, was it 2006 or 2007?
2006.
2006. All right. So, I got to correct me on that one. We're going to speak about the legacy of the Miami Heat. Even though we're not a fan of them, but they have some very good players from that franchise. And we're going to swing it right back to you, Wild Dog. Kind of give us your thoughts on some of the great players out of that franchise. You can speak on Jimmy Butler. You can speak on D. Wade. You can speak on LeBron. You can speak on even Shane Battier. Give us your thoughts on that franchise and some of the legacy players that you can kind of speak on.
I mean, when you say Miami Heat and me, coming up,
it burns the ears almost. What do you think, Boogie Bob?
But I have to go to a place. I have to go to a place where it's kind of warm and comforting for me. I'm a fan of Mr. Thompson and the Georgetown Hoyas, if I'm thinking right now. So I always like and follow the Hoya players, and Alonzo Mourning. Whenever I think Miami Heat, my first and foremost thought is Alonzo Mourning, and watching his game. And then even lately, the story of it coming out about how Dennis Rodman disturbed Alonzo Mourning, so much, But first and foremost, I think Alonzo Mourning and his presence, his demeanor on and off the court, his defensive presence. So it's like the legacy kind of got, for me, solidified around Alonzo Mourning. And so when D. Wade came, the veteran leadership and the foundation was already there and set. And so even when they got Pat Riley, that Pat Riley had truly had a friend in the locker room, right? To help make it easy for him. Not that Pat Riley was going to allow any headaches, but, you don't have to clean house when you got somebody like Alonzo Mourning around. Does that make sense?
Right.
So the transition is much smoother. So I feel like Mourning is the real rock and foundation there, right? And
what's crazy, though, you speaking of a center, though, the first center, and when I think of Miami Heat, Ronnie Cycli is the only one that comes to mind for me for whatever reason.
And you ain't gonna know complaints from me, about Cycli, But again, in my time, in my frame, like even now, it's like we talked about, defensive players of the year. I love Bam Adebayo's game, So I pay attention to the Heat. And so I'm just drawn to Bam, and I'm paying attention and it's easier for me to pay attention, you know. So, but then also you got shown up gunners like Glenn Rice. I think about from back in the day. So when I think of the Heat, I almost think of a different time frame. But then I also want to give respect to legacy players like journeyman, like Haslam. So with all the big three, you know, showing and doing, I'm like Haslam's been holding it down. You know, like when you go from, you know, morning, then it's almost like the next journeyman kind of holding down the locker room. The foundation was kind of Haslam, because you got Wade, you know, yeah, I'm the man, flash and pan. But, you know, from the role players and the bench and all this, you got Haslam holding it down and for so many years and doing it so well, you know, much respect to Haslam.
But he's not a journey player, though. He's been with them since 2003.
Yeah, he's a glue player. Journeyman has been like Robert Ory with many different teams. Hasn't only played for Miami.
Well, maybe I'm using it wrong, because when I say journeyman, I'm talking about someone who's
glue player. He's a glue player.
Like you got mega stars who are just superstars, and you got you know, players who have long careers, right? Very long careers. Like, to me, a journeyman is anyone 10 or more years.
Well, I mean, a journeyman in the real sense of it.
Journeyman is associated with a player that's played on many teams. Sam Cassell, Robert Ory. They've gone from other play, but a player who's not a superstar but keeps the team cohesive, I call them glue players.
Right.
And Haslam is that kind of guy. He's the glue. He's been there the whole time, you know, through 2 different decades. He's you know.
So I'll lean more towards when I was saying foundation, like he's the rock. Like when I was saying Haslam has been like the foundation, that's more clarifying, and I appreciate the correction. So when I say foundation, so perhaps I should say more like rock. When I say rock, I think about you know,
he's a piece you can build around.
Yeah, but foundational player and like the rock for an organization. So I'll try to train myself lean more to say that way. Right.
Gotcha. So if you think about the top 3 for Miami Heat all time, who will be that top 3? And I already know one is going to be on your list, but who will? Just name your top 3.
I mean, did I have to go with the big 3? You know, follow the king to south.
No, the big 3, that would be Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, and Chris Bosh. Is that what we're talking?
And Chris Bosh been out of Glen Heights, you know, North Dallas product. So that would have to be my vote right there. Easy. That's too easy. It's not even normally me, but I got to include Bosh, North Dallas product. So I would just have to go straight there.
And it's killing us, guys, who's watching this is going to be watching this to talk about Miami, because here we're not fans of Miami at all. But I get what you're saying. Chris Bosh is a hometown native. We support him, all he done, especially when he went to SOC back in the day. Power forward for the Miami Heat, and he won 2 championships with them. So he did a great job. So we're going to swing it over to you, Boogie Bob. Give us your legacy as far as Miami Heat players go, and what are your thoughts on that franchise? We talked about them before as far as the coaches go, and Pat Riley has been on that list as far as great coaches and great GMs for that franchise. But let's focus more on the players this time.
Yeah. I mean, there's some players that played for Miami you wouldn't think about. Juwan Howard played for Miami. Eric Dampier played for Miami. Ray Allen, at the end of his career, played for Miami. Gary Payton, the glove, played for Miami.
Tim Hardaway.
They have a long history of players at the end of their career that go there to get a chip. And by the way, I know Wild Dog wanted to talk about Tim Hardaway Sr. And I'm like, Run DMC and is more Warriors. But yeah, Hardaway did play for Miami. He was a little later. He was like 96, 97 and later. Yeah. Glenn Rice was the expansion team. So much like Mark McGuire was or Rolando Blackman was to the Mavericks, Glenn Rice was, and they called him the 3-and-D guy before it was called 3-and-D. Like, you didn't leave him open. So Glenn Rice, early on, a lot of players. And just before I go to my the player I chose, Malone had the 3rd longest tenure as a coach. Only Spoelstra and Popovich had a longer tenure.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
just saying. Say it with me, Wild Dog. Beat the Heat.
Hey, you
Beat
go.
the Heat. Beat the Heat. Beat the Heat. You remember doing that on TV? We were doing that. We were doing that shovel move on TV, Channel 8, doing Beat the Heat. And there are certain guys you just love to hate, and you hate to love them. And this guy fits in that category. So modern day, I mean, Cycli was a good call, Syracuse, but I chose Dwayne Wade. He's
Oh,
one of the
don't say
players
that
you love
name
to hate.
around these parts. Don't say that name around these parts.
He's a player you love to hate, and you hate to love. Let me give a description of him before I get to the career stats. To me, he's a combo guard.
Yeah.
He wasn't a point guard. He wasn't a shooter guard. He was a combo guard. He wasn't the first, but he's one of the best. He had a great head fake. He got to the free throw line quite a bit. He wasn't a great shooter, but he was a great scorer. And there is a difference.
Yes.
You
Thank you.
know, because Dirk could get you 25 on 12 shots. Allen Iverson gets you 25 on 25 shots. So he wasn't a great shooter, but he was a great scorer. Career stats: 22 points, 4.7 rebounds, 5.4 assists. Nothing that really light you up, but not bad. 16 seasons. He was third in the voting for Rookie of the Year, behind LeBron and Carmelo Anthony.
Mm.
So that they compare the 2004 draft to the 1984 draft as far as the mini studs, but he's third to LeBron and Carmelo. 13-time All-Star in 16 seasons. 8 times got MVP shares. 8 times was an All-NBA. He was the first team All-NBA twice. Bear in mind, Luka's already made the first team 5 times in 5 years, the first 5 years. So Dwayne Wade made first team twice. 6-time had voting shares for Defensive Player of the Year. Most people don't think of him as a Defensive Player of the Year, but he was up there. 3 times he was on the All NBA defensive team. 2-time Man of the Year. The stat we all hate: 2006 Finals MVP. Averaged almost 40 points a game. Let me give you one stat that's usually not mentioned in the 06 Finals. 6 points decided 3 games. Mavs lost by 1, by 2, and by 3. Free throws. Game 5, free throws. Dwayne Wade free throws. He only shot 40 free throws that night. Somewhere in there. I might be a little high, but I know as a team they shot 50. So, but 06 Finals MVP, 10-time All-Star, 1 time in 2010, 13-time All-Star. In 2010, he was an All-Star MVP. 75th anniversary team, 3 chips. Shaq helped him get 1. LeBron helped him get 2 more. And here's the last stat I'll give you that was kind of surprising. 2008, 2009, he led the league in scoring, over 30 points a game.
You gotta forgive me for not throwing up because I'm not a Dwayne Wade fan. But those
Like I
stats are
said,
amazing.
he's a player you love to hate, and he's a player you hate to love. But when it comes to giving flowers, whether I like the player or not, or like the team they're playing for or not, you got to appreciate the talent. And there's no arguing that Dwayne had talent. Was he my favorite Miami player? No, not even close. I think Grandmama played for Miami for a year or 2.
I know Morning played. but I don't know. Did
I like
did
I liked Morning in college. You know, we were discussing before we started the show. The first 3 picks that year were oh, Shaquille, Morning, Leitner, and the Mavs had the 4th pick. They got Jim Jackson.
Yeah,
And by the way, Morning was on. He was the backup center on that team behind Shaq. Came in
yeah,
and produced. Uh,
yeah.
so you know, Morning has got a chip. Uh, the thing
Gary
is,
Payton.
if you go to a game, even before 2006, they had a lot of banners flying. They had won their division and the conference before '06. So that's kind of the beginning of the rivalry between the Heat and the Mavs. They met up in 2011. Uh, but look how many times the Heat have made it to the finals since then. You know, Jimmy Butler took them a couple times. So that goes back to the organization and Pat Riley. Is a lot of, as I mentioned, there have been a lot of players that go play for Miami. You wouldn't think that of them as a Miami Heat, and so it's not the top of the roster or middle of the roster that's rotating; it's the bottom of the roster. But when you can bring in a Juwan Howard and he's your veteran presence on the bench, or you have an older Udonis Haslam on the bench, you bring in Eric Dampier as your third center. Uh, Gary Payton as your backup point guard. By the way, I'm going to divert for just a minute. Nico, if you're listening, which I doubt, go get CP3 this summer. He'll be cheap. His contract's expired. You need a point guard. Go get CP3.
Wow. CP3, I got you. So
He's another player that you hate to love.
yeah, absolutely. So it's it's I don't like Miami. Regardless, I'm not a Miami fan. I've never been to the city. I need to visit it. I don't want to bash on the city if I haven't visited. But the team itself, what they did to our Mavs in the championships, I gotta make sure that I stick closely to the Mavs. So it's been a good show, guys. Let's close it out. Wild Dog, man, how you doing? Tell the people where they can find you at on the social media streets, and you may have to get your phone off of mute so they can hear you.
All right, all right. Hey, your health is your wealth. So your doctor, your dentist, and nutrition, and it's all part of the picture. Popping pills and just all that stuff is not. Don't wait till you get sick. Focus on your wellness. Have a good full picture of everything, and that's what I've been on the last several years. Again, fighting for my life. So, but I don't do too much these days. You can just find me on YouTube. Doing commentary and watching videos and doing some commentary, giving some input, seeking the truth, speaking the truth. So you can find me at Wild Dog 357 on YouTube. Again, that's Wild DOG 357 on YouTube. And as always, with my guys doing commentary on Swish for real, baby.
Swish for real. Boogie Bob, man. Tell the people where they can find you at on these social media streets, my guy.
Well, on YouTube, you can find me on Boogie Bob, but more importantly, right up there, right above my finger, subscribe, like, Swish for real.
Guys, thank you. Yes, sir. Swish for real. And if you want to look for me, I'm on X. You can find me as Mikkel, M-I-C-K-E-L, Lampkin, Poet. Just type that in, you'll find me right away, and that's where we post a lot of the content for Swish for real as far as on X go. But it's you gotta want to contact us, hit us there or hit us here, leave a comments, like, subscribe, anything to do to make the algorithm grow. We're growing. We appreciate y'all for actually tuning in, watching us. Man, Boogie Bob's been amazing. Wild Dog's been amazing, man. It's been the journey right now is amazing. I appreciate y'all, man. I just want to tell y'all that from the heart. Yo, Swish for real, guys. You guys have a great one. I'm giving your weekends back. Have a good one. Thanks, guys.
sit praying.